Bienvenue à tous. Welcome to Reporters here on France 24. Thousands of Americans are rebelling against the Covid-19 lockdown imposed by their state governors. This in spite of a death toll that has now exceeded 100,000 across the country. The protesters quote their constitutional rights, even going as far as citing religion as their justification for breaking lockdown rules. Sales of safety masks have soared, but so too have sales of guns. Manon Hurtel is our reporter. Manon, given that there's a pandemic going on, you face clear challenges in making this film.
Yes, we have to know that those protesters and parishioners are people that are more risk to potentially carry the virus because they don't take any precautions themselves. And the problem is that when we wear masks, like, they don't trust the journalists that do that because they consider them as fake news media. So some of them were working to me like with open arm, like for them it was a kind of test to know if I was with them or against them. So I had to politely refuse the hugs, like saying that I was worried to contaminate them and that I had to wear a mask to protect them too.
Manon, thank you very much indeed. Let's take a look then at Manon's report.
Florida, the United States' third most populated state, was one of the last to establish quarantine measures. For a long time, the governor, who's close to Donald Trump, downplayed the growth of the coronavirus epidemic, before finally enacting widespread lockdown measures, including on beaches, Florida's main economic asset. Everything was shut down, except one business he deemed essential: gun stores.
What's going on, guys? Come on in.
Philip Diaz, the store owner, saw his sales double in the last 2 months.
You guys want to use the shooting range? Absolutely. Have you guys shot before?
What is this?
These are our sales all of March and April since the coronavirus started and the beginning of May. So I've exponentially grown in sales here at the store. And across the U.S., numbers have been up everywhere as far as gun sales, with popularity just being all the way across the board. People are buying whatever they can kind of get their hands on at this point.
Okay, whatever you want.
All right, the most popular firearm for self-defense during the coronavirus right now has been the 12-gauge shotgun under the 16-inch barrel. Rack it, and you're good to go.
2 million weapons have been sold these last few weeks across the United States, approximately 3 times more than in the aftermath of 9/11. Proof of the increasing anxiety and fears spreading through the population.
Are you excited?
Very excited.
Do you think it's important during those times, like to have something to protect your family?
Very much so. Very much so. 'Cause you never know how bad it'll end up getting with not with the coronavirus, but beyond that, whatever happens. It's always good to, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. It's kind of the philosophy behind it. A lot of people got scared.
Extra protection.
Everybody has their opinion and everybody has their choices, but the Second Amendment right given to us by the Constitution should allow us to protect ourselves with the use of firearms. And I think that's something that should be precedent over everything else.
The major change is that he's serving clients who never considered purchasing weapons until now.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Shoot one in there in the middle. Beautiful. Now shoot one in the right.
It's a well-organized system. In the back of the store, this client received some quick training.
There's so much confusion going on and everybody desperate for survival. It's survival of the fittest, basically.
In the name of survival, Americans are reclaiming their constitutional rights. They're citing their First and Second Amendment rights, the freedom to carry a weapon, to protect oneself, and to gather in public. Rights brought into question by the anti-COVID emergency measures. All across the country in the past few weeks, protests demanding the end of lockdown have multiplied. In Maryland, New Hampshire, Texas. We have the right to work, to travel, to gather, the demonstrators chant. Their main goal is for the economy to be restarted. Coronavirus has exacerbated tensions and political cleavages in America. In Florida, a video posted 3 weeks ago triggered outrage.
what you plan to do.
Well, my name is Kim Falkenstein, and I plan to show people that they're free. And
All right.
just as you were chanting earlier, the beach doesn't belong to the government. It doesn't belong to the mayor.
She decided to take a swim despite Miami beaches being closed to the public.
That's a woman taking a stand right there.
A few moments later, she was arrested.
This is Kimberly. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a woman at Miami Beach. She is being arrested for being on the beach, exercising her constitutional right to be on the beach.
The video quickly went viral, 700,000 views in just a couple of hours.
I need to get this on video for her.
The man behind the camera who filmed the whole scene is Chris Nelson, a security officer who introduces himself as a citizen journalist and who launched his own podcast called Reopen America.
You got my microphone, got my camera, a couple monitors here. I love the view of the ocean out here, and this is where I sit, and I've got these are signs that actually, these are signs that when I go to the protests and events, I'm holding them up.
On this morning, he contacts Kimberly and her lawyer. The young woman is facing several charges, including disturbance of public safety. She could face up to 2 years in prison.
They will be met head-on with resistance.
God gave us that beach, our rights to go into the ocean and experience its healing powers and things like that. These rights don't come from government; they come from God. And right now, what we believe is happening is the government is taking away our God-given rights, to God's creation. And it's absolutely wrong, and people are willing to take a stand, and people are willing to face legal consequences to take a stand, like Rosa Parks. The way I look at Kimberly walking out on the beach and getting arrested is Rosa Parks when she refused to sit in the back of the bus.
For the past 3 weeks, Chris has regularly joined anti-lockdown protesters along the beaches, most of them Donald Trump supporters.
It's time to free South Florida. It is time for that beach to be open.
President Trump openly backs them and accuses governors of being too strict in applying lockdown measures.
Yeah, you gotta stay. We got to. If we lose our voices, we lost our country, people. We need every solitary American to step up and to stand up. We have a Constitution that protects us. Don't let them tell you differently. And anyone who stands against our Constitution, they are in violation when they took an oath as a governmental official. You can sue them. We need to do something, and I think we should have some class actions. It's time. Enough is enough. We the people, for the people, by the people.
This is a virus, which we've had viruses and all kinds of Ebola and SARS and bird flu, and we never closed everything because people have immune systems, and that's how we cure ourselves, especially with the sun, vitamin D, fresh air. We should never have closed it. It's an excuse. They closed things as an excuse to keep people in their houses, to keep people enchained and controlled.
Open the beach! Open the beach! Open the beach! Open the beach!
They have no idea what they're talking about. They got zero idea about what's going on. So their ignorance is going to get them killed.
So the Constitution is not an argument?
The Constitution right now doesn't play any sort of part in here right now. We need to unfollow the Constitution, and we need to follow the people that know best, which are the scientists.
See the truth, and the truth makes you free.
Since we finished shooting, North Florida beaches have reopened, back to how they were a month ago. Within a couple of hours, they were taken by storm, disregarding all sanitary measures. Miami beaches, on the other hand, will remain closed until the beginning of June. The other state at the heart of this constitutional battle is Louisiana, also in the southeast, one of America's epicenters of coronavirus. On March 22nd, following governor's orders, the 4.5 million inhabitants were put under a stay-at-home order. All of the churches closed down, except for Pastor Tony Spells.
Now some of these people, you think they're kind of out of control, but you don't know. They flew in from San Diego to come in here and shout this morning. Some people is here from Paris, France in this sanctuary this morning. Some people's here from Kentucky this morning. I don't want to get cheated when I go to church. I want to have freedom when I worship God. Goes like this.
This ultra-conservative evangelist continued to hold his services despite state orders. At every one of them, hundreds of worshipers gathered, with no masks or social distancing measures. He asserts the First Amendment of the Constitution guaranteeing freedom of religion, saying the Constitution is against the Democratic governor's lockdown decision. In total, he held 6 completely illegal services, which ultimately led him to be arrested and placed in custody. Ironically, he was released to avoid any potential contagion behind bars. He will be tried this summer and risks up to 3 years of imprisonment. In the meantime, he keeps preaching, much to the displeasure of the county's inhabitants.
This side is for the church people, and this side is for the cars driving by. I think that he's endangering my entire community, and he's shipping in people from the surrounding areas. It's not just this city. They're coming from 5 different parishes. That's a really, really large area. I have some people that live in my neighborhood that go to this church, and I don't want them to spread virus to me somehow. It's very contagious and just not worth the risk that these people are doing. It scares me a lot.
Pastor Tony Spell has kept a clear conscience. He says there are no contagion risks during his services. The problem, according to him, is somewhere else.
Oh, really? Oh, no, this is...
That's a cell phone. The church is the cleanest building in the city because we don't get paid to clean it. We clean it because we want it to be clean. Other people who may be minimum wage workers, clean Walmart or a gas station, they run a dirty mop over the floor. That's not sanitary. We take pride in cleaning our building because this is the house of God. This is the temple of our God. All right, to the office.
Since his arrest, he's carried on holding services without changing a thing, convinced that he is within his rights.
President Donald Trump wants this nation opened again. He's been hijacked by doctors who do not have our nation's best interest in mind. Doctors cannot run a country any more than preachers can run a country. This is my church. I can run my church. Presidents and politicians can't run my church. Neither can medical professionals. Politicians run nations. God sets them up and tears them down. He wants this nation opened again. But right now, he's held hostage.
Tony Spell has already announced his intentions of appealing to the Supreme Court. Dozens of complaints have been filed across the country by other citizens, and it's only the beginning. Judges from the state of Wisconsin just invalidated that state's quarantine measures, the start of another legal battle. In the meantime, the death toll keeps progressing all across the U.S. In Florida, like in other states, the worst is expected, the peak of the epidemic yet to come.
Manon, you met many demonstrators in Florida who want, among other things, the beaches to be reopened. We even saw one of them being arrested during your report. What's the latest on these people?
Last week they did another protest and 3 of them get arrested. But in Miami, shops and restaurants just reopened yesterday and it will be allowed to go on the beach from the 1st of June. So protesters said that they won this battle, but now the new aim is to challenge the obligation to wear a mask. They said that they should have the right to choose if they want to wear one or not. It can sound a bit shocking from France to hear that, but here the freedom can pass before equality and public health. If we look at the Constitution, it's totally agreeable. That's the reason why in the next coming months, the court will rule on many lawsuits and say if yes or not, during a pandemic, we can put in bracket the right to gather in public spaces.
100,000 people have died, it's worth saying again, in the United States. That figure continues to rise. Manon, Black Americans it's clear now, among the most badly affected by COVID-19.
Yes, and I would like you to hear Latrell. We meet her in her small house in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She lives alone with her 7 children, and like many poor Afro-Americans, she doesn't have a good access to education and healthcare. In Louisiana, Afro-Americans are 3 more times impacted by COVID-19 than any other community. And this example shows how the virus impacts mostly the population already in difficulty. Like Latrell, 28 million of Americans don't have any health insurance.
I'm gonna be honest, I couldn't afford to go to no hospital. I couldn't, because that sounds like that would cost a lot. But that's my church. That's my safe place. I just never thought about being afraid going there. Like, that's the place. I'm gonna be honest, I kind of felt scared going to Walmart, but not at church.
Latrell in Baton Rouge there, Louisiana, interviewed by Manon Hurtel. Manon, thank you so much for your report. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to you too. If you want to see Manon's report again, of course you can via our website, france24.com. This is Reporters. Thanks for joining us. Stay with us. Most of all, though, stay safe.